Hi, I'm Mike McLean. Welcome to the Short Circuit podcast, brought to you by Swift Aircraft. In this series, we'll be chatting with a variety of people from all walks of life, but who all have one thing in common: aviation. We'll discuss how and why they got into aviation, what or who inspired them, and what they would say to encourage young people to get involved. Flight fascinates many of us, and our guests will explain why they are compelled to look to the sky. Today's guest on the Short Circuit is Katie Dennis. Katie's story is another clear example of how STEM activities can have a direct positive effect on the life of young people. I was excited to get in touch with Katie as we hadn't spoken for a long time, and I was keen to catch up with and get the latest news. I don't want to steal any of her thunder, so I'll let her tell the story. But her development and career could be used as a case study by the STEM organisation and by her current employer. I think you'll enjoy this episode, so let's listen into the chat. Good afternoon, Katie Dennis, and welcome to the Short Circuit. It has been a long time since we've spoken, and I am fascinated to hear more of your story. So what we're going to do, we're going to dive right in. I'm going to ask you question number one, and that is, who are you and what is your role in aviation?
I'm Katie Dennis, and I am a general technician in the Royal Air Force.
Ah, that's absolutely brilliant. Where are you based? I've always been curious about this.
I'm based at RAF at the moment.
Oh, you're up in Lossiemouth.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
welcome north of the border. Oh, that's fantastic. So how long have you been up there?
So I've been here almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in October that I've
Wow.
been up here.
Because
Yeah.
I had the impression you were down at Gosford.
Oh
But
no.
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 Okay.
All the
So
way up north.
before we get into the story of what you're doing just now, the question number two is, so what started you off in aviation? I know the answer, but I want you to tell the listener. So,
Well, I started Air Cadets, I think, in 2012.
right.
I
How
was a
old?
footballer before that, but I
Oh,
decided that planes might be quite cool.
oh, okay. And
So
how old
went
were
to
you
Air
then?
Cadets. Oh, I think I would have been 14.
Right. Okay.
And then we went flying there,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't go flying because my head was too small for the helmets. And I met Jack Milnes there, who started the Spirit of Goole afterwards.
Right.
And I think that was sort of a little bit of his inspiration to start it, because he was the one that took me flying, and he
Right.
was devastated for me, and that made me try to go. And obviously he decided he wanted to build a plane then that I could fly. So
Oh, that's brilliant. So it's all your fault then.
it's all my fault, yeah, yeah.
So you joined the cadets
Hmm.
and then got involved with the Spirit of Goole project,
Yeah.
which again, some listeners might know about it, but if you could give a little summary about what the Spirit of Goole project was, just to put it in context, that'd be great.
So it was a youth aviation project that was set up to allow youngsters to build a fully functioning biplane
Mm-hmm.
and then go on to fly it afterwards and maintain the airplane as well.
Wow. So a real proper plane built by a
Yeah,
bunch of kids, basically.
it's a bit crazy actually.
So we got to know each other by from being at a couple of trade shows where you guys are out there generating cash and
Yeah.
fundraising, and Swift Aircraft, who were there trying to flog aeroplanes, and so we were surrounded by all these kids running around chasing people for money.
Yeah.
But that was great because we gave you lots of hats and bags and stuff to wear.
Hats, cup of teas, I think, as well, because you had a
Yes,
lovely stand, so you went there for a cup of
yeah.
teas.
It was good. I mean, I think your project caught our imagination, and it was interesting just to watch because it was so different from everything else that was there. You know, it was very much a sort of a middle-aged old man type
Yeah.
vibe to the place, and then there's this bunch of kids screaming around the place and
Yeah.
saying, "Yeah, we're building a plane," and it was going, "What?" So no, that was brilliant. following that, so you were involved in that for how long then?
Oh, well, it's its 10-year anniversary this year. But I think Jack and Chris and Andy did fundraising a year before we all
Right.
got involved for it. So 9 years I've been doing it.
And
So
you're still involved with them? You're still in touch with them?
yeah, still keep in touch quite a lot. Obviously I'm like up north now, so I don't really get to enjoy it as much as I'd like to. But
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
just around the corner from, well, Lossiemouth's not
No,
just
not
around the corner
anymore,
from
because it
me.
was just around the corner, but it's
Yeah.
not anymore.
So, and that all started off in Goole. So you would have been
Mm.
still at school at that point.
Yeah, I was at high school. Yeah.
So how did that go down with your peers, your other students?
I think they thought it was a bit weird that somebody was coming to school to build a flame. Um, but I had like Tom and Billy there who were very good friends with that also knew Jack, so they was asked to get involved as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, there was mainly year sevens that started, and me, Billy, and Tom were year eight or year nine or something.
Hmm.
So we were sort of like the older kids that joined it, and it gave us a bit of a responsibility, I think. So
Hmm.
that was quite nice.
And
So,
was it like anything else you'd done at school prior to that, or was this completely
no,
different?
no, I don't think I touched tools at school before that. So because we were actually in one of the old workshop classrooms that didn't get used, so they put us in there to build it at first.
Right, so keep you
Um,
out of the way.
yeah, yeah.
All right, and you did football. I didn't know you were a footballer.
Yeah, I've got a few trophies and some medals from mainly participating, but I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it was my dad's dream. So all of us, all four of his kids, played football at one point in our lives.
Wow.
So
Okay. Do you
yeah,
still play at all?
no,
No. Well,
no.
moved on from that now.
Yeah, I think I peaked too young. So
Going back to your role then, so you discovered aviation with the Spirit of Goole, basically,
yeah,
um, and left school. And then did
yeah.
you go straight from school into the Air Force, or?
I wanted to, but my mum told me I had to go to college first, just in case I didn't get into the Air Force.
Right.
So I did a mechanics course at college. So
Okay. So that was what, 2 years or?
just 1 year. So I just did level two because I didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to join the RAF. So I was like, oh, I'll just go for 1 year.
So had prior to the Spirit of Goole, was the RAF a thing for you, or?
The military was,
All right.
and I
Okay.
think I was swaying more to the army before I joined Air Cadets and met Jack because Jack was in the Royal Air Force as well.
Right.
And he gave me like an insight into it and stuff. And I went for work experience with the army.
Mhm.
And then I think that's when I decided I wanted to join the RAF.
Okay. Okay. Um, so what is your role now within the Air Force? What do you do?
So I'm a ground technician, so I work mainly on generators and, well, yeah, at the moment generators, but I've worked on Land Rovers, refueling vehicles, and big, massive like airfield snow clearing vehicles and stuff.
Mm.
So just a bit of spannering, really. It's quite fun.
So you're keeping the airbase operational no matter what. So.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're a forgotten trade, I think.
Mhm.
When everything's on TV, like the program at the moment, they've not mentioned GEF, which is ground engineering flight yet, because I think they just think, oh, it's just aeroplanes, but there's a lot more to it than just aeroplanes. So yeah.
So what other roles are there in GEF? What's so you're working on mechanical stuff mainly, mechanical and
Yeah, so
electrical.
there's mechanical, there's electrical, and then there's workshops as well. They do all the welding and the cutting and sticking sort of thing.
Hmm.
So there's the three main roles for GF, which is I'd like to do all of them, but I don't think I can.
Right. Okay. And
Mm.
do you manage to get involved with the aircraft at all, or is it the base that's your territory?
No, just the ground equipment
Right. Okay.
and the airfield. The closest we get to an aircraft is if we're working on one of the rags and a plane takes off.
Right. Okay. But do you still feel involved? Is not the right word, but part of the whole aviation industry, or do you feel sort of separated from the flying side, or do you still feel
No,
connected?
I think they always say in the RAF a really cringy thing, which is without ground power, there's no air power.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
true.
I think it's probably right because if the generators didn't work, they can't turn the airplanes on and the airplanes can't go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're sort of like the bottom tier of an airplane taking off.
Mm-hmm. But if you don't have foundations, then you can't build a building.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this is you make a very important point there, because the one of the things that we've had in previous conversations here on the short circuit is everybody focuses either on the plane or on the pilot. But to get that plane in the air and to get that pilot into the plane, there's a whole pyramid of people below that. And when I say below, I mean in the support role. It doesn't mean they're any less important.
Mm.
It's just, if it's a team effort, and I think especially working in the RAF, you will have, I'm sure, many talks and motivational talks about teamwork and all that sort
Oh
of
yeah.
business. Yeah. And do you find it's effective? Do you find it works? Do you feel
Um,
like?
I think sometimes it can be effective. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, and so Lossiemouth, what are you looking after up there then? So apart from the
So
base, what are you flying out of there?
there's typhoons flying from there. There is Poseidons, which is the new sort of submarine like spying aircraft thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to get the Wedge Tail, which is a radar aircraft, I think.
Yeah, that's the one that's replacing the AWACS. It's quite a
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite a bit controversy about that at the moment, because
Ooh.
I think there was supposed to be five and we're only getting three now. So,
Mm.
but we won't do politics today.
No.
That's not the role for this thing. So, and how are you coping up in Lossiemouth, because it's a very different part of the world from Goole.
Yeah, I quite like it up here.
Mm.
So I've just asked to extend up here as well.
All right,
Because we quite like the area as
right.
well. There's loads of walks to do, there's loads of places to go, all the touristy bits that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's really far away from family, they like coming up here as well because they
Mm-hmm.
see it as a holiday.
All right.
So yeah.
Have you managed to get out and about around the rest of Scotland, or have you just stayed local?
We went to 2 weekends ago, went to Ullapool for the day.
All right, for the day.
Um,
That's a trip.
yeah, because we fancied going on a walk, and then I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to like go out for a nice meal, and we were like, let's just go to Ullapool. And then we've been to John O'Groats as well, and we've
Mm-hmm.
stopped off on the way up John O'Groats. So we've done maybe three quarters of the North Coast 500, but
Right.
not together.
All
Done it on
right.
different days.
That's probably a very wise move.
Yeah,
But again, we'll leave the rest of that one to the Scottish Tourist Board
yeah.
podcast. So, all right. So you're working up there on your role. You get to see a lot of what's going on, and you've been in the Air Force now for 5 years, yeah?
No, I think I've been in for 7 years, but I've been
7 years.
up here for five
Right.
years.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So I mean, 7 years isn't a huge amount of time, but you must have seen some changes in that time in developments on equipment, on the aircraft, on the stuff that you're working on. Is there anything
There's
that's
been a few,
yeah,
yeah.
any standouts or anything that really caught your imagination or caught you by surprise?
Um, no, I don't think so. Because usually the new stuff that comes in, we can't work on it yet because we've got
Right.
to go on courses to work on it.
Hmm.
So we see all the new stuff and it sits in the hangar and then it gets taken away. So in terms of my job, it's not actually changed that much. And I don't think it's changed in the past 20 years. People there before me have said. So
Hmm.
yeah.
So you're still playing the sort of the steady baseline to what the activity that's going on, and all the new fancy stuff's yet to make an effect down on the foundations.
Yeah, so I think all of the sort of pilots and the aircraft techies, they'll probably see a lot more new stuff than I do
Hmm.
because they get hands-on with all the new bits of kit and stuff. Whereas I think most of like the ground equipment sort of stays the same.
Right. There's been a lot of talk about trying to move and to renewable sources and net zero and that sort of thing. Has that happened? Has that sort of conversation reached down, not reached down, reached out to the ground engineering crew yet, or is that still happening at
So
a?
I know that in the refueling tanks, to actually run the truck, they use biodiesel,
Mhm. Oh, right.
which
Okay.
is obviously quite good. Not from a mechanic's point of view, because the fuel filters need changing a lot more often. Um, but yeah, so we use biodiesel for that at the moment, but um, everything else, it's sort of staying the same. At the
Right.
moment, I've not heard anything. So
Right. Okay. No, that's good to know. So biodiesel, so it's starting to have an effect. So the
mm,
whole sustainability is
yeah.
starting to roll out, even in small ways. That makes in the long term that make a big difference. So, and do you find it? I was going to say, do you find it interesting? Oh, I mean, you're not bored with your job. It keeps you going, keeps you interested, keeps you stimulated, I would say.
Yeah, it's good. A bit of job satisfaction as well
Hmm.
when everybody's in a mad panic because the plane can't take off and you're the one that gets to fix something that the plane needs to take off. Um, so it's good, and you always get a different kind of atmosphere every single day,
Hmm.
depending on what's going on in the airfield. So some days can be nice and relaxing, some days you're just busy, you've got things to prep, things to fix, and yeah, especially when all the parts come in to put into things.
Right. Okay. So it's not a 9 to 5 humdrum job. It's every day is different. Some more exciting than others.
Mm, yeah,
Right.
definitely, yeah.
Right. But and you mentioned the job satisfaction. I mean, is that so? Is that the problem solving and trying to find?
Yeah, it's more of the when you're the one that's diagnosed something and fixed it,
Right.
it's quite satisfying.
Okay. So you're building up your knowledge and you're able to identify
Yeah.
problems and stuff. And would you say that there's any of that skill, because that in itself is a skill set, being able to identify problems, think outside the box, figure out what the solution is, implement the solution, and that sort of thing. Would you say any of that skill has come from your involvement with the Build a Plane project, or was that something you had with
Yeah,
you anyway?
definitely. Because we was obviously kids building that plane, and everybody, all the adults there were volunteers. Some of
Mhm.
them not even in engineering backgrounds. We all had to sit down and read something or Google something to
Mhm.
make sure it worked. So especially with the on the Spirit Of Goole, the cowling on the aircraft,
Mhm.
we got donated a engine and it's never been in that plane before. So we had to figure out how we were going to fit it into the aeroplane, and
Oh,
the
right.
cowling needed redesigning. So we sort of helped in the evolution of the engine changing in that plane, sort of thing.
Oh, wow. Okay. I knew there was something about the engine, but I wasn't too sure
Mm,
what was on. So, like I said, we were always several steps removed from it, so we were just watching from afar.
yeah,
But I remember seeing the looking at the pictures of the plane, thinking that looks different from the other ones. So what is it
yeah.
that they've done? So you guys actually created basically a type change for that aircraft.
Yeah, so we were going back and forth with the light aircraft company that build the Sherwood Rangers for a
Mhm.
living, sort of thing. They were the ones that design the plane and stuff. So we were always saying, well, this bit don't work on ours. Does it work on yours? So just, yeah, conversating with them and going back and forth, which was quite fun.
Excellent. Okay. And so all those skills translate to your profession today. That's
Yeah, yeah. And the life skills as well, and being able to speak to other people, like speaking on this interview now, if I'd
Mm.
never joined Spirit of Goole, I wouldn't be here speaking to the interview. But I probably would have been like, no, thank you, I don't want to do that. But going out and trying to raise money, you've got to
Mhm.
speak to so many different people, and of all like different levels. So yeah, it's quite confident building as well.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met you, you were very, very shy.
Mm.
And but you were still making the effort. It was
Yeah.
like it was obvious you were, shall we say, slightly less than comfortable doing it,
Mm.
but you knew you had to do it. And
Yeah.
then the following year, when we saw you again, it was like, is that Katie? Is that the same person? Yeah. So no, it's that's fantastic. That's the whole thing with the Spirit of Goole was very much a STEM project, STEM
Yeah.
slash STEAM. Do you see much STEM engagement within the Air Force? I mean, do you have you had interaction with cadets or local schools or colleges or?
So I personally haven't. I'm not involved in that bit at work, but they do STEM events quite a lot, and the
Mhm.
cadets. There's a cadet building, I think, on base.
All right, okay.
And they always visit every year, so you can't get in the mess when they come. Just they're all lining up for their food. Sometimes we push in front of them, but you can see they're quite like it's an apprenticeship when you join the RAF.
Mhm.
So it's usually people just coming out of school that are going to join, and they will have found the RAF either through a work event or through STEM events at school as well.
All right, okay. In fact, that prompts the question. You said you were in the cadets to start with yourself.
Yeah.
So what made you join the cadets in the first place?
I knew Billy and Tom, who were part of Spirit of Goole as well.
Mhm.
And Billy said, "Why don't you come and join Cadet?" So I was like, "Yeah, all right then.
All right,
Yeah, I
so
might as well." So yeah, basically it was just because Billy asked me if I wanted to join.
so we're getting on. I want to ask you a little bit about your life. So you I've known you since you were a teenager, and then all of
Hmm.
a sudden you've gone from being this shy little teenager to getting involved with the Spirit of Goole, and then having moved on from that, you joined the Air Force. And in recent times, you've had another big event in your life as well. Um,
Yeah,
who is currently downstairs and supposed to be sleeping?
supposed to be sleeping, but I think I can hear him playing. So
Right. Okay. So, and you're managing to fit motherhood in with your career. It's not going to stop your career.
no, it won't stop. It might reduce my hours at
Mhm.
work. Because I do miss him. I've just started back at work, so I've just done 2 weeks
Right.
full time. So I went from having 10 months off with a baby, and then I went straight back to full time work, which it was a bit hard because I
Mhm.
miss him loads when he's not here. But he absolutely loves nursery. So when
All
he
right.
goes in, he goes smiling in, and the ladies at nursery, they're allowed to do anything. They can wipe his nose without him kicking up a fuss. But if I tried to wipe his nose, he'd be like, "No, get off." So yeah, he quite enjoys nursery, and it's the nursery that's sort of attached to camp as well.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's
So
quite nice.
so he's going to grow up in that environment. He's going to have aviation in him from day one.
Yeah,
And that's an extreme example, I guess, but would you encourage other young people to get involved in aviation?
yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And why particularly? Why are you so positive about that? What's the key thing?
Well, I've just had such a great time over the past 10 years,
Mhm.
and I've done so many things with the Spirit of Goole,
Mhm.
which I would never have been able to do without it.
Mhm.
Um, and I probably wouldn't even have met Carl. I would never have joined the RAF. I'd never have met Carl. I wouldn't have my son. So I think everything sort of happens for a reason.
Mhm.
So from Jack asking me to help him out with the Spirit of Goole to me now being a mum in my dream job is quite nice actually.
Excellent.
So
No, that is the fantastic positive story, and
yeah,
I think it's one that our listeners will be. Yeah, if that doesn't catch a few heartstrings, then I don't know what will, because it's just wonderful. I mean, everybody that we've spoken to involved in the Spirit of Goole has had such a positive experience.
Yeah.
Whether it's been the young people getting involved, or whether it was the instructors and the adults doing the supervision, and everybody we know that's touched. For me, it's been the perfect STEM activity. It's a model that, I'm even though we weren't directly involved. Well, we weren't involved in it at all, other than making cups of tea for you guys.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic story that those of us at Swift Aircraft who were involved at the time, we still talk about it, even though we weren't involved in it. So that's, I think it's a good story. So we're getting towards the end of this. So I'm going to ask you the hard question now.
Oh.
Right. So you can give me more than one answer to start with, but at the end, I'll push you to choose one. So this is to go on so we have a virtual control tower, and on the wall in our virtual control tower, we've got a bunch of pictures. And these pictures are of people's favorite planes. So what I want to know is, what is your favorite plane and why?
My favourite plane is the Sherwood Ranger XP, and it's because I got to build one in real life and fly it, and that's just like mental.
So you got because I've seen pictures of you airborne. And so describe the Sherwood Ranger. What give people for those of us who haven't seen one and aren't maybe that clued up on aviation. Give us a description.
British built biplane, which is always great if it's British built. And it's 2 seats, so one behind the other. The pilot sits behind you, so you're at the front. If you're not the pilot, and then you just sort of, I don't know. It's getting in it for the first ever time to fly was scary, because I know every single nut and bolt in that plane. And I'm thinking, did I tighten that one up? And did I tighten that one up? But I think if you was to just get in one, I think I would rather fly that biplane than go in a commercial aeroplane. I find commercial aeroplanes quite scary, and I'd never flown in one until I went to Akrotiri with work. That was my first ever time abroad, and my first ever time of what I call a big plane.
Right.
Because I've flown little planes, and it was scarier than flying a little plane, going in a little plane, I think.
So what did they take you out to Akrotiri in?
A Voyager.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's a big lump.
A big plane.
Yeah.
And it's not very comfortable because they don't seem to move with the times. There's no Wi-Fi on there. There's the only TVs you've got are the ones in the roof. So you'd be lucky if you could see the telly. But yeah.
So the Sherwood Ranger, so it's a little biplane, so it's a tail dragger, so it's 2 wheels at the front, 1 wheel at the back.
So it's 2 wheels at the front, 1 at the back,
And
so when you come to land, you've got to sort of point forward, which is always a bit, and you have to zigzag on the runway to be able to see where you're going as well.
Right,
once you've landed,
because the nose is higher than you, so you can't see.
So you're like looking at the sky.
Right, okay.
So yeah,
and it's, correct if I'm wrong, it's an open cockpit.
It is, open cockpit,
Right. So I mean, that's back to basic stuff. That's and it's made from what materials?
It's made from metal and wood. And some of it's balsa wood, which it feels like polystyrene.
Right.
But obviously it's light enough for it. And then we used Oratex, I think it was, to cover the plane. So yeah, it's really basic materials.
Right. So it's old school with a bit of new tech thrown in.
Yeah.
So, right.
I think the newest bit of tech in that plane was the engine that we installed.
Right. So where did you go? I mean, was that just short flights around the Goole area?
So we went to we flew from Northmore to Breton, well, up near the Humber Bridge,
Hmm.
which if you're from Yorkshire, you'll know the Humber Bridge,
Yeah,
and it's amazing. So to
it's
see that from
huge.
the
It's
air
very,
was
very big.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And as a kid, my dad always took me to the Humber Bridge to have a walk on it, so it was quite nice to fly over it.
Hmm.
And then we went to Breton Airfield where did we met a lot of people at Breton in the very early days,
Hmm.
um, which helped us and stuff. I think that was my first time away actually with TSOG at Breton.
Right.
And me and Andy flew in there, and we got a lot of handshakes from people because they obviously this plane that people told them kids was going to build was there a few years later.
Wow.
So yeah, it was quite. I felt a bit famous actually when we landed and went to the clubhouse there, and people were saying, "Oh, like playing and stuff." It's fantastic. I was like,
Yeah,
"Thank you."
but you were famous. I mean, you made it on TV, and
Oh yeah,
you met some celebrities and all that sort of thing.
and I met royalty as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Prince Philip twice. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
There's a challenge.
So I've had a glass of champagne with Prince Philip actually.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was quite nice.
That, I mean, from when you before you started, then before you even joined the ATC, could you have imagined yourself having a glass of champagne with Prince Philip?
No,
No.
not at all. The royal family were like, you could never meet him unless you did something heroic.
Hmm.
And I've met him just because I was building a plane.
But don't you
um,
not you don't you think that building a plane is a heroic thing for a
I
bunch
think
of
it's quite
kids?
nice. Yeah, to me, it's quite normal
Hmm.
because I've done it.
Yeah.
And I was one of my friends once introduced me to his friend,
Hmm.
and they said, "Oh, like speak a bit about what have you done," sort of thing, like an icebreaker. And I was like, "I don't know, really. Like, I don't know what's quite interesting." And my friend just turned around and went, "Kate, you built an airplane." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I built an airplane." So it's quite normal for me. I think it's because my friends now, my close group of friends, is people from the Spirit of Goole.
Hmm.
So to us, that's quite normal. So when I meet somebody else, I'll just talk about it like it's a normal thing, and they just stand there and they're like, "What? Say that again?" Like, "Oh yeah, I built this plane and we flew it, and I met Prince Philip." So,
So you're still in touch with the rest of the team, or
oh
some of them?
yeah, yeah, they're my best friends. Yeah,
Wow,
friends for life. They all are. So
that's fantastic. That's
yeah,
so to wind it up. Then started off just playing football, kicking around Goole, literally.
yeah,
And then with a on the suggestion of a friend, you joined the cadets. And then from there you got involved with this because your head was too small. You got to fly, you got to
yeah,
build an aeroplane.
yeah,
So that's fantastic. And then since then so it's sparked your career. It's established your friendship group, and put you in a position where you're now a working mum working for the Royal Air Force.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, it's just such a fantastic story and a testament to imagination and determination and
yeah.
getting involved in a STEM activity. Do you think you'll get involved in STEM as a more as an instructor from the adult point of view in the future when you get the chance? I mean, you've got to bring up a child
Yeah,
first, right?
I'm a bit busy, but but
Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah, I'd love to either go to cadets as a volunteer
Mhm.
or just get more involved with STEM stuff at work. Um, just because I want Cameron to grow up and be like, oh, I want to do what Mum did or Dad did because his dad's an electrician. So
All right.
yeah, I
So
want him
bet
to be involved in it.
so between you and the family, you can get the plane started, you get them rewired, and you get them make
Yeah,
sure they get up in the air.
yeah, yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, Katie. Well, the clock's telling me that we're just about out of time.
Oh,
So, thank you very much for coming, and
that's okay.
it's been great to have you here on the short circuit. I'll speak to you again sometime soon.
Yeah, see you later.
Okay, ciao. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye bye. So that was Katie Dennis. I find it fascinating catching up with people you haven't seen for a while. In Katie's case, it's such a great story. From meeting this shy wee lass and now finding her as a professional in the RAF and a mum, and it all stemming, no pun intended, from joining the Air Cadets on a whim. It also seems that having a small head is not always a disadvantage. But joking aside, her story is exactly what STEM is all about. The fact that she has stayed very much within the aviation sector is pertinent, but she now has transferable skills and experience that may stand her in good stead should her life course change direction. She has benefited from #InspiringAviation and fashioned a satisfying, happy life and career from it. I don't think that you can ask much more than that. I hope our chat made you smile, and I'll see you next time here on the Short Circuit. Fly safe. You have been listening to The Short Circuit, presented by Mike McLean and sponsored by Swift Aircraft with the #InspiringAviation. This has been a Zoom Spike production.